Hi guys, welcome back. Today I'm doing one of my favorite type of videos and I'm gonna do a huge book haul. I have so many books that I have thrifted, been gifted. I want to show you guys. It's been a while. This little haul has been collecting over a few weeks and thought it was about time to do a haul so that I can finally organize them and put them on my bookshelf. So if you like book hauls, bookish content, keep on watching and leave a like, subscribe if you enjoy. So let's get into it. Starting off strong and with my current read, I recently thrifted A Little Life for $3 at the thrift store. Insane. This was such a steal and it's in such good condition. But I just started it recently. I'm about 60 pages in. I'm sure anyone who's on Book Talk or BookTube knows or have seen this cover. It's like going into it with no knowledge to what it's about, mostly just what I've heard from TikTok, that being that it's devastating and gory. You look up the trigger warning list, it's just any horrible thing you could ever think of. So really exciting, riveting stuff. I will read the back for you because I don't really know what it's about quite yet. So A Little Life follows four college classmates broke adrift and buoyed only by their friendship and ambition as they move to New York in search for fame and fortune. While their relationships, which are tinged by addiction, success, and pride, deepen over the decades, the men are held together by their devotion to the brilliant, enigmatic Jude, a man scarred by an unspeakable childhood trauma. Time to brotherly bonds and a masterful depiction of love in the 21st century. Hanya Yanagihara's stunning novel is about the families we are born into and those we make for ourselves. I am not far enough into it to say what is really happening, or I haven't really developed a connection to the characters or seen where the devastating elements come in. And I've heard it's like the writing is very extensive and it's beautiful. Like, so far I'm actually really liking the writing, but it's definitely very detailed, very specific, and I mean, obviously this book is really thick, so I think it's kind of slow. I'm intrigued to see where this goes and where all the hype is from. So definitely let me know if you ever read this and what your thoughts were. Next, we have Things Fall Apart, this super cool cover. What I know about this book is that it's a fictional story set in like an African village from the perspective of a boy who lives in this African village as everything begins to change with like British enforcement being introduced to their community. And I've also heard that this one is pretty devastating, so we have a fun little streak going on in the books right now. Next is one that I actually bought today because it sounded super intriguing. First of all, the cover is what intrigued me because it's literally beautiful. Once I read the back, I was like, ooh, I'm gonna grab this. This sounds really cool. And it's Virginia Woolf, which I've heard amazing things about her books, but I've never read one before, so I hope this is a good start. So Virginia Woolf's most light-hearted novel is a playful and exuberant romp through history as seen through the eyes of a character whose life spans 3 centuries and 2 genders. As a teenage nobleman, Orlando spends his days in revelry at the Tudor court of Queen Elizabeth and his nights in writing earnest poetry. 2 kings later, Orlando is sent to serve as an ambassador to Constantinople, where he awakens one day to find himself in the body of a woman. The Lady Orlando takes this circumstance in stride and returns to England, where she engages in love affairs, sorts with the famous poets of each age, finds happiness with an unconventional husband, and last achieves publication of her own epic poem in the year 1928. With its blend of fantastical adventure and satirical wit, Orlando was an immediate popular and critical success, one whose status as a classic has only grown with time. Seems really cool and definitely like out of place for the time it was written in. I feel like it would have been controversial, the aspects of like two genders in the same person. Anyway, very interesting. I'm really excited to read this one. Next is A House in the Sky, and this was recommended to me by my sister who recently read it. This story sounds insane. I believe this is a true story, and it's about this a woman reporter who goes to all sorts of different countries and reports on like the news, what's going on there. She travels to Somalia, which is said to be the most dangerous place on earth, to report some sort of fight that was going on there. And while she was in that country, she got abducted and held captive for months on end, and it's pretty much retelling her story, and this just sounds insane. This was actually a birthday gift that I got recently. It's called Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid. It's an author that I'm relatively familiar with. I read Evelyn Hugo when I first started reading, and it was like one of the books that really got me into reading because I enjoyed it so much. So I believe this is one of her new books that came out that my sister gifted to me. It's essentially a love story, I guess, but it's set in space, I think. It sounds really interesting. It's about astronauts in the 1980s, and I think the main character is sent to space. Next is Red Rising, and I'm just gonna read the back for you. So it says, his wife taken, his people enslaved, driven by a longing for justice and the memory of lost love, Darrow will stop at nothing to bring his enemies down, even if he must become one of them to do so. So this is a fantasy dystopian, very different from the ones I was just talking about, but it just sounded super interesting, and the Goodreads review was like insanely high. I think it was like a 4.1 or something like that. So I have high hopes for this. So we have My Neighbor Totoro. This is so cute. I've watched the movie already, so I kind of know what happens, but I was just so drawn to getting this copy of the book, and like just look at this cover. It's so adorable, and I just feel like reading this I'll be like immersed into this whimsical like little wholesome fantasy. So I can't wait to read this. I'm probably gonna read it this summer because I feel like this is the kind of vibe that I want. And yeah, this is a translated book too. Now on to graphic novels. I love a good graphic novel. This is called Lightfall. It's a little adventure book with a bunch of different little creatures, and they go on adventure. I feel like it's one of those feel-good adventures where they're going across the world to find something, and they're enduring all these troubles along the way, and you know, friendship bonds them. And I don't know, sometimes I just like to sprinkle some of those kind of graphic novels into my reading list because it's just a light little cute read. Next up, I have this graphic novel called A Song for You and I, and this is by an author that I have read before, Kay O'Neill. They have some pretty cute like queer graphic novels. Another one of the series that I read is Dragon's Tapestry, I think. And those were 3 graphic novels, and they were so adorable. And I think this is a new graphic novel that's come out, very much an adventure, like identity kind of exploration book. So I'm very excited for that. And like, I just love the art in these like graphic novels. It's just so pretty and adorable. I'm reading a book, but I'm also appreciating the cute little art that someone has put their time into. Next is a graphic novel that's actually been on my list for a long time, and I happened to find it in a thrift store, which is just amazing because graphic novels can be so expensive. I got this one for $12, and like that's really good for this thick of a graphic novel. But it's called Bloom, and let me read it to you. So it says, now that high school is over, Ari is dying to move out of the big city with his ultra hip band, if he can just persuade his dad to let him quit his job at their struggling family bakery. Though he loved working there as a kid, Ari cannot fathom a life wasting away over rising dough in hot ovens. But while interviewing candidates for his replacement, Ari meets Hector, an easygoing guy who loves baking as much as Ari wants to escape it. As they become closer over batches of bread, love is ready to bloom. That is, if Ari doesn't ruin everything. So yeah, this is a cute little queer story, and it's set in like cafe with pastries and baking, and oh, I love it. But yeah, I'm really excited to read this one. This is one that's been on my list for a long time. So again, I feel like this will be a really good one to read this summer. Yeah, I think that's all the books that I've purchased recently. 10 books. And most of them were thrifted. Like, what a steal. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed watching my haul. Let me know if you've read any of these and what you thought. Don't forget to subscribe and like if you want to see more from me. See you guys in the next one. Bye!